The other day we had some financials from Activision Blizzard, and now it seems Capcom are eager to join in as well, as they have detailed some of their figures today. And this is for the full fiscal year 2015. Now, they naturally talked on Street Fighter V, which has undoubtedly been their biggest release for some time, and definitely this year. And across PS4, PC, and including digital sales, it has sold 1.4 million copies, and these sales were from February up until the 31st of March. So that is a quite short period for Street Fighter V, and it still managed to sell quite a few copies. Now, Capcom did hope to sell 2 million copies of the game by the end of the financial year, and despite the fact that they fell short by about 600,000 units, they did say that Street Fighter V, quote, maintained steady sales mainly overseas. Now, obviously, Street Fighter V had far from a smooth launch, and of course was roundly and rather rightfully criticised for a lack of features for single player fans. No proper tutorial, the story mode was a joke, no arcade mode, and online was filled with issues as well, and of course there was no punishment for rage quitters in place. Now, the core gameplay was great, which only made these issues all the more frustrating for those who had picked up the game early. Now, of course, Capcom has slightly improved matters since then, online play now works well, and there is a rage quitting punishment in place, and a big update is planned for June to add in a proper story mode and more DLC characters as well. Now, one other thing they touched on is the future of Resident Evil. They did reveal that we'll be seeing a lot more Resident Evil during the new year. Now, this new fiscal year, of course, began on April the 1st, I suppose you could argue. 2016 will end March 31st, 2017. And according to Capcom, Resident Evil Umbrella Corps, which will release in June, will just be a quote-unquote warm-up for a quote-unquote again full-scale offensive plan for the second half of the fiscal year. Now, we don't yet know what exactly they're talking about when they talk about a full-scale offensive. There are, of course, already announced remasters for Resident Evil 4 and 5. There's no Resident Evil games due this year. They could, of course, be referencing an unannounced sequel, perhaps Resident Evil 7. It might just be a fact that they're going to be trying to celebrate the 20th anniversary, which is again happening this year, or maybe we'll be seeing our first real look at the Resident Evil 2 remake. I doubt it'll be out this year, but maybe, hey, here's your first real slice of gameplay or real slice of anything. We have not seen hide nor hair of that game since it was announced, so perhaps that's that. Perhaps they're going to announce something this year that is an Umbrella Corps, which is very much a spin-off in the Resident Evil universe and is not a survival horror game. Well, Resident Evil hasn't been survival horror since 4, but you get my point. But they've definitely got something big planned. I am predicting a big announcement, either Resident Evil 7 announced, or the first real footage Resident Evil 2 remake, or maybe one of the already released remasters, but I doubt there will be huge news. I don't know if that would qualify as a full-scale offensive or not. We just don't know what they've got up their sleeves. It could literally be anything. So, rather interesting for fans of Resident Evil. I am just hoping for a return to form for Resident Evil. The last couple of Resident Evil games have been really disappointing, especially 6 was just a travesty. 5 was okay, but not a great Resident Evil game. The last really great one was 4, of course. So I'm looking forward to the Resident Evil 2 remake, and curious and kind of, cautiously hopeful to see what they do with Resident Evil 7, to see if they finally learned from their mistakes with, of course, the success of Resident Evil Revelations, and, of course, the cry out for Resident Evil 2 remake, which, of course, has finally been answered. So, sadly, only time will tell, but it seems they're doing rather well, at least in terms of Street Fighter. It's going to be a very interesting year ahead for Capcom, I feel. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.